Have you ever listened to your hi-fi system and wondered why it doesn't sound as good as you expected? Before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on a new amplifier, there's something you need to know. In many cases, the amplifier isn't the real problem at all. From speaker placement and room acoustics to source quality and system matching, a few simple changes can completely transform your listening experience. In this video, we'll uncover the most common mistakes that make amplifiers sound disappointing, and more importantly, how to fix them before you waste your money. Let's get started. Have you ever upgraded to a better amplifier only to discover that your system still doesn't sound the way you expected? It's a surprisingly common experience. Many people immediately blame the amplifier when the real problem lies somewhere else in the audio chain. Even premium amplifiers can sound average if they're connected to the wrong speakers, placed in an untreated room, or fed with poor quality audio. Before spending more money on another amplifier, it's worth understanding what actually affects sound quality. In many cases, a few simple adjustments can transform your listening experience without replacing a single piece of equipment. One of the biggest mistakes is speaker placement. When speakers are too close to the wall, pushed into corners, or positioned without proper spacing, the stereo image begins to collapse. Vocals become less focused, bass can sound muddy, and the entire soundstage feels compressed. Simply repositioning your speakers and creating a proper listening triangle can often produce a bigger improvement than upgrading your amplifier. The next thing to check is your music source. Many listeners unknowingly judge their amplifier while playing heavily compressed audio over basic Bluetooth connections. No matter how expensive your amplifier is, it can only reproduce the information it receives. If the source lacks detail, the final sound will always be limited. Whether you're using lossless streaming, a dedicated music streamer, or a CD player, the quality of the source has a direct impact on what reaches your speakers. Before deciding that your amplifier needs replacing, make sure it's receiving the best signal possible. You may discover that the real improvement comes from changing your source, not your amplifier. Another common mistake is choosing speakers without considering whether they're a good match for your amplifier. Every amplifier has its own power capabilities, and every speaker has different impedance and sensitivity ratings. When these don't work well together, the result can be weak bass, harsh treble, reduced dynamics, or sound that feels lifeless. This doesn't necessarily mean your amplifier is underpowered. It simply means your system isn't properly matched. A well-matched amplifier and speaker combination will almost always outperform an expensive setup with poor compatibility. Before replacing your amplifier, check your speaker specifications and make sure they're suitable for the power your amplifier can deliver. A balanced system is far more important than the price of any single component. The final piece that many people overlook is the listening room itself. Hard surfaces, empty walls, large windows, and poor speaker positioning can create reflections that blur detail and reduce stereo imaging. Even the finest amplifier can't overcome a room that's working against your system. Simple improvements like moving your speakers away from the walls, reducing unwanted reflections, or adding soft furnishings can dramatically improve clarity and realism. Before spending money on a new amplifier, optimize the room you're listening in. You might be surprised by how much better your existing system can sound. Now that we've covered speaker placement, source quality, room acoustics, and system matching, there's one final concept that separates an average hi-fi system from one that truly delivers an unforgettable listening experience. It's something many beginners overlook because it isn't as exciting as buying new equipment, yet it has a bigger impact than most upgrades. That concept is building balance throughout your entire system. Every component in a hi-fi setup has a specific job. Your music source delivers a signal, your amplifier increases that signal, your speakers convert into sound, and your room shapes everything you finally hear. If just one of those elements is working against the others, the entire system suffers. That's why experienced audiophiles rarely recommend buying a new amplifier as the first solution. They first identify the weakest link and improve it before spending money on something else. A balanced system doesn't always mean expensive equipment. In fact, many carefully planned mid-range systems outperform much more expensive collections of gear simply because every component complements the others. When your amplifier has enough clean power for your speakers suit your room, and your source provides high-quality music, everything begins to work together naturally. The sound becomes more open, instruments become easier to separate, vocals gain clarity, and the listening experience feels effortless instead of harsh or fatiguing. Another mistake that many people make is upgrading too many components at once. Imagine replacing your amplifier, speakers, DAC, and cables all on the same day. If the sound changes, how do you know which upgrade actually made the difference? You don't. That's why experienced hobbyists recommend changing only one component at a time. Listen carefully for a few days, understand what improved, and then decide whether another upgrade is actually necessary. This approach not only saves money, but also helps you understand your own listening preferences instead of constantly chasing specifications. It's also important to remember that published specifications never tell the entire story. Two amplifiers with similar power ratings can still have different sound characteristics depending on their design, power supply, and how they interact with specific speakers. That's why building a system is about compatibility, not simply comparing numbers on a specification sheet. The goal is not to own the amplifier with the highest wattage. The goal is to create a system where every component supports the others and delivers music in a natural, enjoyable way. There's one final misconception that keeps many people from enjoying their systems. It's the belief that spending more money automatically guarantees better sound. In reality, that's rarely true. A carefully planned system with well-matched components often outperforms a far more expensive setup that's been assembled without considering compatibility. The goal shouldn't be to own the most expensive amplifier. It should be to build a system that works together effortlessly and lets you enjoy the music instead of constantly searching for the next upgrade. The next time your system doesn't sound quite right, resist the urge to immediately replace your amplifier. Start by checking your speaker placement, your room, your music source, and the way your equipment works together. Those simple changes can often deliver the biggest improvements. Once every part of your system is properly optimized, you'll hear what your amplifier is truly capable of, and that's when upgrading becomes a choice based on real performance rather than frustration. Remember, great hi-fi isn't about buying the most expensive gear. It's about building a balanced system where every component plays its part. When everything works together in harmony, that's when the music comes alive. If this video helped you understand why your amplifier may not have been the problem, give a thumbs up and subscribe to TechZino for more honest hi-fi tips, amplifier guides, and audio buying advice. And before you spend money on your next upgrade, remember this. The best sound doesn't come from the most expensive amplifier. It comes from a perfectly balanced system. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.